Let's hear it for the Super Mario Brothers! These are my boys.
You know, the Super Mario Brothers movie from 2023 was a great movie. I'm not kidding. While it's not perfect as a film, I think there are issues with it. It perfectly captures the essence of what Mario should be. In fact, right here, I have the whole film on DVD. Yes, I bought this. This is Power Edition, but whatever. It's a truly great watch. And there's a sequel coming out literally a few days after I'm recording and gonna be publishing this podcast. So I thought it's perfect time to talk about Mario again. Except we're not talking about the main Mario movie I have right here. Oh no, I didn't think I was talking about this Mario movie now, did ya? There's a third Mario movie that we don't has been released. Except that its reputation is a bit more shaky. The film had constant script rewrites, actors appearing drunk on sets, and a pair of directors that are publicly disliked by everyone. The story of the movie can be more enticing. And that's what we're going to get with this Mario movie. Greetings everybody, I'm going to Thomas45 or Thomas45, watching my own podcast, and today we're going to talk about the history of Super Mario Bros. 1993.
Okay, Smokey, roll 'em.
It's showtime.
Everyone's mad.
Even though the movie didn't come out until 1983, Mario and non-gaming media has existed ever since the first game released. What do you mean that? Well, after Super Mario Bros. Was released, the world was enveloped by Mario Mania. There were accounts that Mario was more popular than Mickey Mouse. Yes, Disney, I'm aware that's not true nowadays, but still. Anyways, this led to merchandise and even other things to me too. Our first piece of external media Mario was in was actually an anime OVA called Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach, which was released in 1986, about a year after the first game released. It's a weird movie, and it's just bizarre. It's basically going off of the first game's template of all the enemies. Anything, I found a band online that I did watch, but it's just weird. I mean, if I had to make this movie, it'd be odd just to watch it. There are several issues with the things that this movie does have that is weird. The coloring choices are a bit off. Luigi acts more like Wario than he does Luigi, even before Wario existed. The animation is quite limited. And yes, I'm aware I'm watching a fan dub, but some of the voices are laughably off.
Hi, are you expecting me to make a cake out of this? I've had enough of this shop. Goodness.
Thanks for coming. Ow! What's with you, bro? You've been like this all day.
But it does get the template down for what Mario was like. If your Mario was made literally a year after the first game released, then yes. After that fell though, it won't take long for the next piece of Mario Next media to be. The next one would be...
Hey! Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
Yes, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So, you know, this old trip from the 90s that invented such things like the Mario app.
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game, we're not like the others who get all the fame.
And yeah, that thing. It's a movie too now, so I can say this will be all with it. And it's also the one that gave us the Do the Mario dance.
Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario dance.
Yes. But what's probably more, is how just an 80s trip this is. I mean, remember, this was made by Geek Entertainment back in 1989. The same people who are more responsible nowadays for making shows like Inspector Gadget and The Real Ghostbusters as prominent examples. Of course, a prominent example of this show, the show is split into two segments. One is segment of is live action segments, starring Captain Lou Albano as Mario and Danny Wells, I think is how you say the name, as Luigi, as they solve problems for characters like Indiana Jones, Count Dracula, and even Elvis. Sometimes they get big name stars on the show, while other times they just lazy and just use deep characters. Like I put the Gadget here, played by Maurice Marsh. You know, Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
I understand you plumbers can fix anything mechanical. I need an emergency adjustment. The name is Gadget. Inspector Gadget.
Oh, no problem, Gag. Come back in an hour.
Well, I need you to fix them while I wait. You see, I'm expecting important instructions from the chief.
Yeah, that must be him now.
Does he always do that?
Yeah.
Chief, is that you? Yes, sir. I'll be there as soon as the Mario Brothers fix me up. Hurry, fellas, I'm going to pieces.
The other segment is the anime segment. Mario and Luigi are plumbers. In fact, this is where the whole migration of that they were plumbers to begin with actually kind of started. It had been no public knowledge by then, but this was really where it was really taken to the max. The whole game was basically based off of Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, the USA edition, okay, where it has a bunch of different levels to play against. Let's see. After about 52, on Fridays though, you get a special one where you get to watch The Legend of Zelda. This one's kind of weird. For one thing, Link talks.
Bob, hero.
Hey, excuse me, princess.
Yeah, oh boy. Not only that, but he's kind of a prick. But I think, and honestly, there's a reason why I don't hear Link talk nowadays. Well, except for one other reason.
Cleaning. Huh. If Zelda thinks she can order me to mop this place, she's got another thing coming. I'll stand firm. I won't knuckle under. I'll look her right in the eye and lie. I'll pretend to be sick.
After 52 episodes, this episodes, 39 of which would be Mario segments and 13 Zelda segments. The show ended in 1989. A year later, we got the adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3. Take events of the games and moved the live action segments, but still have the anime segments in there. And adding elements of Super Mario Bros. 3 in the mix, like the Koopa Lanes and lanes being along about to the side. A year later, we got Super Mario World, adding Yoshi and a caveman idea into the series. Now, I know this is all weird and all, that this is not very little to do with the Mario movie, but trust me, this is more just context of Mario on the other side. Okay? To actually get the idea of the Mario movie instead, we have a bit of an odd idea, okay? After the success of 1980's Batman, a wave of movies based on comic book identities came out. Including movies like Doug Tracy or The Shadow. But probably what jumped into the Mario movie even more was the release of 1990's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Released independently, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would end up becoming one of the highest grossing films in 1990 and one of the highest independent films too. But how does this relate to Mario? Well, 1989, we got the first taste of a Mario movie. Producer Roland Joffe came up with a first draft idea. He thought of the idea of Luigi saving idea to help out. For the role of Mario, Dustin Hoffman was actually the first one who said that I'll do it. He appeared in several movies like Rain movies before, and he just won an Oscar for his performance in Rain Man, along with appearing in Kramer vs. Kramer and The Graduate as just some examples. However, this was a bit of an odd thing. The first script they got that they contacted was titled as a bit of a joke and misnomer, was called Drain Man. And a very similar plot to Rain Man. And you'll be seeing, the whole idea of Drain Man was what they called it was basically made as a joke, whole thing down. Where it had two brothers in contrast. One, the pessimistic one, aka Mario, and the other, the optimistic one, aka Luigi. However, this one was too similar to Rain Man, and Kawa, who was with them, it didn't really feel like Dustin Hoffman was the right fit to Mario. So it didn't really. Later on they asked Danny DeVito to play as Mario. He was the actor who closely resembled Mario. And he had just gotten off a bit of a resume booster with roles like War of the Roses and Twins and Throw Mama Off the Train. A three-peat, if you will. But DeVito wanted to see the script. There was one issue. There was a script locked to begin with. So DeVito mainly just went, nope, I'm out of here. Which is a weird thing to say, wasn't wanting to direct, so it didn't also work. Afterwards, they decided the first script afterwards. It was to see how they do. They added a fancy element. I'm going to read off a script that transitioned out. The dates kind of a bit more murky, but this is one of the scripts we got here. Right here, I'll show you. Mario, Luigi, and the sidekick Toad go out to save Luigi's girlfriend Hildy. There's going to be some name changes, by the way, yes. And go out to save the world, and save them in a magical world. The script is a bit of a weird patch, and it didn't really work in its sense. After Dustin Hoffman and DeVito didn't want to go in, Tom Hanks was approached next. Tom Hanks was known for roles like Splash, Big, and Turner and Hooch. He got an Oscar nomination for his role in Big. However, and he seemed like a good fit. Tom Hanks was known for weird roles, but he could easily do it. However, Tom Hanks was in, kind of a slump at the time. The Burbs in 1989 and Joe vs. Volcano both flopped at the box office, and the box office baddies bombed hard. Both critics' eyes did not. Way Tom Hanks was in a bit of a mess. Tom Hanks had been in a big movies before, but they didn't really think he had the it factor. They realized their mistake pretty quickly though. The same year that Mario Bros. Hit the box office, Tom Hanks starred in the groundbreaking film Philadelphia about a positive gay man who has to struggle with HIV/HIV/AIDS. He won an Oscar for that role, to prove that he can do serious films. This will also lead to a problem. So it wasn't due a time when Tom Hanks' wives back on. They say it was like A League of Their Own, Sleepless in Seattle, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, and Toy Story. So kind of a bad idea to skip over Tom Hanks, but kind of also a good idea. Otherwise, we wouldn't have his rise. In the end, they cast British actor Bob Hoskins to play as Mario. Bob Hoskins had just won an Oscar for his role in Mona Lisa, and came up a huge hit with his film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. For the role of Luigi, they got up-and-coming star John Leguizamo to do the whole thing. Leguizamo was so confident that the Super Mario was going to be a hit that when they did ask him to do a sitcom about his life, he said no. He said he was too good for TV. To play the role of Koopa, they want a steely villain to play the role of him. By the way, yes, I'm aware that the villain in the game is named Bowser. I'm very aware of that part. But in the movie, he's called Koopa. It's confusing, you'll get the reason why. Both Arnold Schwarzenegger and Michael Keaton were both asked for the role, but both turned them down. In the end, actor Dennis Hopper, who had many roles including Easy Rider up to his belt, took on the role. For Princess Daisy, who was previously Princess Hildy, Samantha Mathis of Ferngully The Last Rainforest fame came into the scene to play the roles. But if there is one thing that this movie is known for, it's known that even with the cast here, the production was an absolute hell to go through. Let's begin with how directors were chosen. The first director choice was Greg Beeman. Greg Beeman happened to get the role of License to Drive, which was his only film to his name. Unfortunately, he didn't get the it factor to get on with the film. It didn't really help that Beeman was new to the scene and he wrote a production film. But after the atrocious failure of his film Mom and Dad Save the World, which I had never seen before, but just like that title, I'm just like thinking, what the hell is this movie about? He was let go for it. Then Joffe offered the film to Harold Ramis. However, Ramis declined the opportunity. Despite being bad at games, he didn't really see it as a good idea. Later on, though, he said he was glad about the present and called it his best decision ever. Okay. He then decided to add a husband and wife duo called Rocky Morton and Annabel Jankel. The two had only directed one film, that being DOA. Which is an odd movie that starred Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid, respectively. But the film had an odd, unique taste in it, and had an odd, unique feel and music. The crew was known for directing music videos by bands like Elvis Costello, Tom Tom Club, and the Talking Heads, as prime examples. But probably the most well-known thing they did was Max Headroom. Max Headroom was a weird MTV, almost like cyberpunky hack that they had doing it. It was looking odd, really weird. Max Headroom had a very early MTV vibe, and the two were hired in it. This even led to a TV show in the 90s called Max Headroom, 20 Minutes into the Future, and in 1985, and aired throughout the years. It seemed that it could work. It seemed that they were ready for this weird style. Producer Roland Joffe hired them immediately to get this down. Now, with this idea. In their script, this movie, after finding a way to go through a sewer script, they found out that they were both in New York, and they found out and into a supposedly other New York. I'm gonna try and see if I can set up basically here. Look, Mario and Luigi and the Psychic Toad all try to get to this area and save Luigi's girlfriend at the time, Daisy. However, the script was rejected. It was weird. There's been many writers back. They brought in two writers named Dick Clement and Ian LaFrenne. The two only had one film to the name at the time, that being the TV writers. However, and it just sold a film rights idea of a film that was supposed to come in the 1982 film Stay Tuned. But However, they added more elements and even added a character idea that made Mario feel more like the sleaze and the archetype of Bill Murray's character in Ghostbusters. Everyone was happy. Well, they weren't actually. Instead, they later on hired another actor who would come on later, as they didn't. Yeah, they hired another man named Ed Solomon later on to make another movie. Ed Solomon had previously worked on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. However, his version was seen as more family friendly. The script was the one they tried to go with. Another team named Bennett and Runte, and Pocket Bennett and Terry Runte, who at the time only were adding more of a darker tone. Bennett said, Ghostbusters was the motto. We were aiming towards funny, but weird and dark at the same time. While they liked the idea of these scripts, each of these scripts kept on making more and more issues. They kept on making a game of weird hot potato with a lot of other things. Everyone was confused by these scripts. The whole idea stuff, they figured it out pretty quickly, and the mistake, after seeing the scripts they got afterwards, because they kept on getting, directors Morton and Jankel considered walking out, but they already came so far that they just shrugged their shoulders and said, oh well, might as well do it by now, and finally decided to get this film working. If there's anything to note about more things is that, well, let's just say that the script writing process wasn't the only thing that was somewhat tenuous about the filming. When the cast showed up on the screenplay, they were showing up with a mere bewilderment. The cast all showed up with a script that they had not known before. Well, they hired Parker Bennett and Terry Runt to come back from an earlier draft and did not like it. Producers Joffe and Ebert didn't really have the idea down for the scripts. The whole scripts, the two main script issues, it did seem to know what they were doing. The set design was designed to be a bit different. Now it was time to film the movie. Except that film the movie. How do you film a movie with a script that has already been rewritten several times? Well, find out after the break.
From Hollywood Pictures. When you jump to the next level with the Super Mario Brothers, you've got the action. You've got the adventure.
You got a problem with that?
You've got the power.
Whoa, cool!
Where the game ends,
It's incredible!
the adventure begins. Super Mario Brothers, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Starts Friday, May 28th.
Welcome back, everybody. Ready? Where we are right now is at this time filming. When the crew got on set, they were not happy with this new script. Instead, they were more confused, and they told producers all about it, who surprisingly enough brought Pocket Bennett and Terry Runt back into the set and asked them to revise the script. Because of how the budget was now ballooning, this movie, which was supposed to go independent, needed a distributor fast. Disney's Buena Vista film company helped finance the movie with much more formidable in this case. The sets were now added even more pain and struggle. They started filming in a warehouse in North Carolina. This warehouse had several issues. For one, it had very little air conditioning. So the humid summer of that North Carolina summer was there. If you ever notice any sweat or moisture on there, that is not special. That's not a sheen. That's actually actual sweat from the heat that was working on there. Ew, I think I just made the volume movie even more gross, people. And this is an movie that's already really weird. The cast and crew did have one thing united him. A common foe. Morton and Annabel Jankel. In early August 1992, production well underway, freelance journalist Richard Staten captured the exact turmoil on Gulf Los Angeles Times. He works with crew with the directing pair and telling them names. They gave them more nicknames. Rockabelle, a combination of first and last names, wasn't most common. Rockin' Annabel, The Flying Squirrel Show, and Hydra. Which actor Bob Hoskins set up in probably the least flattering way, Tongazamo. And by the way, this is pretty explicit, so please, if you guys get offended by this, just hold on, okay? Bob Hoskins said this: most English people aren't like them. He's a cunt, and she's a cow. Again, I'm sorry, those are his words, not mine. Okay? Bob Hoskins, though, wasn't the only one frustrated, though. He wasn't the only one verbally about it. Both Dennis Hopper and John Leguizamo both expressed immense discomfort working with the pair. They were both control freaks, and however, no behind-the-scenes actor, basis, which made it harder for their own tasks. But no behind-the-scenes actors said turmoil and as well with his story about Walking Morton, an extra and a cup of hot coffee. According to John Leguizamo and some electors, and happy with Saw. She was too neat. He's on coffee and poured over an extras. This woman wore a mask, but wasn't sealed all the way. So Hockey see-through the suit. The man screamed in terror, but Morton just shrugged and said, "Oh well, it's an extra," and shrugged. Morton has since disputed this claim, though, as he said best that a few other reasons. Either the actors were too far away from them to really notice it, or that the coffee was actually quote-unquote cold. Yeah, weird. Okay. Now, what's ironic is that they actually put T-shirts of what the rude and explicit comments that they would all say. And these T-shirts weren't like hidden behind a wardrobe, they all wore them to set. It was so unique that this structure was already this kind of hell, and we haven't really gone too much else afterwards. Everything was already going to mayhem. As for the concept script rewrites, made matters get even worse. The script was so frequently, the actors didn't see the point in reading it. Dennis Hopper once said, "It's been rewritten 4 or 6 times by the time I arrived here. I don't really bother with it anymore. I just go in and do my scene. I figured it wouldn't help me enter." Bob Hoskins had much the same approach. He said, "With script rewrites, I'll get frustrated with rushed research." One scene called for strippers, which crew hired locally out of North Carolina. But when this was caught wind of this, they quickly changed this to dancing in a nightclub. The actors were doing one day at a time, and to accept that the script would be vastly different than what they signed off for. But it was a bitter pill to swallow. Fiona Shaw, who played Lena in the film, was recently disenchanted when the rumors of a scene Hopper would be in the bath with beat up the with the worms was bested. He said, quote, "The script was witty. That was maybe like 10 scripts ago. Now you have to meet your bath with worms." But as John Leguizamo said best, the worse the script, the better the party. The crew party throughout all the misery. It's been noted that John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins took shots of scotch throughout the whole production spree of the movie. Okay? The whole idea of taking alcohol to this whole thing was a bit unique. In one scene already, they were meant to take the Mario band. Josh was going to shoot the Sunstein. The scene from the giant Mario van. Hoskins didn't show him since he was drunky, but Leguizamo surely did. The scene, Leguizamo said Hoskins said, line. Well, you see, Koopa's getting away! So Leguizamo slammed on the gas, then quickly swerved on the brakes. The van almost tipped over. Then Bob Hoskins shut the door for him though. Then the door shut right in his hand. Hard. This is a loud line of profanities. One example learned it as a kind of cockney Tourette's. For the remainder of the shoot, Hoskins wore a cast, which had painted a pale peach color to match his skin. It wasn't all bad. Zamo and Samantha Mathis did start dating while filming the movie. In his book, also did say that there was about the good thing coming from the movie. The Super Mario Brothers movie was a dramatic mess. It was unfair to put the blame on the directors. Jankel Morton having something that had never been done before, a big budget video game movie. The music videos were extravagant, and the TV show was good, but it goes from a music video from Talking Heads to a video game movie like this one. On top of that, not to do what they did best. This is when Morton had a Queen, Richard Quesada, were edgy and different. For them to actually do this movie, this is held back. Which is weird. They decided to make a movie that was more and more different. In fact, in one of the scripts, he mentioned that the bond between the brothers was a more strong bond than what we got in the film, which is weird. The script and Jankel wanted was sophisticated than the final product, and the version that they fought for was more impactful story. Being good friends, Morton felt like had no choice to go along. It was tough. He said, I do the script, obviously, until the date where I knew that it was anything but. It was tough to hit this 1.2. They had you set, but not enough to probably light it. And with the first calculator changing, continuity was made near impossible. After 15 weeks of production, it was time to edit the film. Do you know what's surprising though? Morton and Jankel were not allowed in this production studio while they were editing the movie. They were forbidden to enter. They had to get help from the Directors Guild of America to get in. Somehow, regardless of whatever the hell was happening, a movie was being made. Now they knew the movie would be good, but they thought because of more iconography, the movie would be good. In the box office, they put up a huge marketing campaign. When the movie got released in May of 1993, the film bombed hard. Super Mario Brothers is a weird movie. Here is a plot synopsis I found on Wikipedia. So here's how it goes, okay? Following the smashdown of a meteorite 66 million years ago, the Earth is split into two dimensions, where we have a human race in the Earth side, and then a dino version, in a race that developed from dinosaurs called humanoids, in a version of New York called Dino Hatton. The king of this world, King Koopa, wants to merge both worlds together, but he needs a quote-unquote meteorite fragment, which his associates, Iggy and Spike, have been trying to locate girls who have it, but none have turned up. The meteorite fragment actually is currently being worn by Princess Daisy, but or just Daisy in this case here. He meets up with Luigi. After King kidnaps her, Mario and Luigi, who are plumbers in this world, go out to chase her. Mainly Luigi, but Mario reluctantly jumps in and ends up in Dino Hatton with all this. Does this sound like a Mario movie? Because it doesn't really feel like a great adaptation of Mario. Oh no, you're questioning what the hell is going on here? Okay? Throughout the film, there are some really adult scenes, some failed attempts at what could be best described as humor, and overall this feels like a Blade Runner version of Mario rather than anything else. Honestly, if I describe this movie, it would be weird. It's just an odd movie. Not much of it works. The story makes absolutely zero sense, and honestly, it feels more like it's trying to stray away from Mario. And the ending is terrible. It sets up perfect plot for a sequel, yet there was never a sequel to this film to begin with. And I don't think after this movie the actors wanted to get a sequel. And although my description is man, I do have some positives. For all its faults, the actors are trying. I can't say that the movie ever once had an actor who doesn't at least give it all. Whether it be Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, or especially Dennis Hopper. King Koopa is probably the best part of me because of how Dennis Hopper completely disappears in this role. He may not look at this movie, but he probably is a pretty damn good Koopa nonetheless.
We gotta talk to that goofball now.
I don't think you want to do that.
Why? Why not?
That Koopa clown
Yeah?
is one evil, egg-sucking son of a snake. Now, where is that meteorite piece?
But there are some things that just don't work, and well, I hate to say it, but the main issue is that of how trying to adapt the games into a movie. By this time, we only had maybe 4 or 5 games in the Mario world. But this is one thing I actually championed the 2023 movie for having. The balls to wait. Because by then we had more than 40 games in the Mario franchise, if you count Mario Kart, Mario Party, and more that they adapted. How about? Here, they have to try to be limited. I will say this though, regardless of what anyone thinks, it is the best way you could adapt a Mario movie. Honestly, I'm actually quite proud of what they got here because they knew they were going to an uphill battle nonetheless. The Mario franchise only had roughly 4 games. That being Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario World, Super Mario Bros. 3, and Super Mario Bros. 2, the USA edition. And as such, it doesn't really have much of an issue. However, I'm actually more positive for this film than people actually were at the time.
And right there you see the problem. This movie can't decide whether it wants to be a flesh and blood film or a real video game. That kind of chase is boring compared with the urgency of a real video game where you're under constant pressure of time and your quarters running out. It takes a lot more imagination than what's been attempted with Super Mario Brothers to make a high-tech movie transfer.
Yeah, this movie wasn't imagined correctly at the outset. They didn't start out with a vision of what it was going to be even before they did everything else. And so you look at the movie and you see millions of dollars on the screen of special effects and all of those customized cars and that other world that they've created and everything else, and it doesn't add up to anything. It's just a lot of people running around, all talking at once in a plot that nobody cares anything about, and just every once in a while a little moment that kind of sparkles. Dennis Hopper is kind of good in a couple of his speeches, but it's a complete waste of time and money.
It is.
Critics gave the film a bunch of negative reviews when the film came out. Michael Wilmington of Los Angeles Times wrote this. It is a movie split in 2. White commercial on one level, white efficient on the other. Okay? Both just gonna give it both thumbs down on the promotion side, okay? On the website Rotten Tomatoes, Super Mario Bros. 1993 has currently set at 27%. With critics' consensus reading this sort of particular of the movie, saying this. Despite flashy sets and special effects, Super Mario movie is too light on story and substance to be anything more than a novelty. Okay? In terms of the box office, you would think with the Mario iconography that the film would be a huge name. On a budget of $48 million, the film only made $21 million. Wow. Now, the reason it could have been that it was just released at a weird time. It was released on Memorial Day weekend after all. However, that's not true, as it had plenty of time open. It was just that people were not interested in Mario movie at the time. However, what did interest people was a movie that came out about a month later. Not under a month later. Which is...
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, kind of poor timing to release a Mario movie that has dinosaurs as a prominent feature in the same year as the biggest dinosaur movie ever, Jurassic Park.
That is one big pile of shit.
Despite everything that goes on, even with the bonkers story, there are elements here that are all based off of Mario that do work in Mario characters. There are bullet bills, Goombas, Bombs, and a Yoshi. The winner of the nightclub is named Big Bertha, and there's even a character named Toad, whom, fun fact, was originally played by Tom Waits, but instead he is now played by Mojo Nixon, which is hilarious. And I also find it hilarious that they found another musician to play Toad. Mario and Luigi are plumbers, although they might take that one a bit too literal, and they do wear the iconic red and green jumpsuits in the film. But honestly, it is distracting the film that the film is mainly confused and doesn't really know what it's doing. In terms of the legacy, well, let's say the actors afterwards did not like the work of this movie. Okay? In a 2007 interview, Bob Hoskins said this, and again, please note that this is a very explicit interview, so I'll just say it right here. Say that there's a bit of a warning right here, okay? He responded this. Super Mario Brothers, it was a fucking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. And a husband and wife team directed whose arrogance had mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own age of torn together the sets. Fucking nightmare, fucking idiots. Okay? And then, in a Q&A he had with Guardian in 2011, he said this. What is the worst job you've done? Super Mario Brothers. What is the biggest disappointment? Super Mario Brothers. If you could go back and past, what would you change? I wouldn't do Super Mario Brothers. Dennis Hopper also was unhappy with his time set. Okay? In an interview with Conan O'Brien, he said this. In 2008, it was a nightmare. Very honestly, that movie. It was a husband and wife directed team who were both control freaks and wouldn't talk before they made decisions. Anyway, I was supposed to be down there for 5 weeks. And I was there for 17. It was so low budget. He later added this anecdote. My 6-year-old son at the time, he's now 18, he said, Dad, I think you're probably a pretty good actor, but why did you play that terrible guy, King Koopa, in My Brothers? And I said, well, Henry, it was so you could have shoes. And he said, Dad, I don't need shoes that badly. Okay? Both Joaquin Morton and Annabel Jankel both had not worked on a movie ever since To My Brothers. Okay? When both been asked to get to work on movies, they have script ideas, and they both would say they were basically blacklisted from Hollywood. Joaquin Morton and Annabel Jankel both said that their agents dropped them. The scripts kept coming. Said by Morton himself in an interview, he said this. We wanted us. We were like lepers in Hollywood. Still to this day, I have projects that I call the managers and just try to represent us. They give him Mario Brothers. Oh God, guys, it was like 20 years ago, but it's still there. And honestly, this movie both had was a very harrowing experience. It seems the Super Mario Brothers movie would be the last and the time that we got Mario movies. However, we would really get other movies based on video games. Movies like Double Dragon, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat movies in the 90s. However, most of these bombed at the box office hard, and the critic scores waver from being mediocre to just flat out bad.
Mother, you're alive. Too bad you will die.
Not only that, but they added some elements that just really are elements, okay? And that's something we have the onslaught of big game movies that happened in the 2000s thanks to Uwe Boll, whose directing couldn't save him from agreeing for a housing contract, let alone a movie. So yeah, I think that it's safe to say that Super Mario movie didn't bear a curse. However, there is a bit of a lighter side to our story. And that side was that the movie has a bit of a cult following. There's a website out there called the Super Mario Bros. Movie Archive. archive, which is a big help for this video, and I provide a link in the description below to the website. It features scripts, storyboards, production photos, behind the scenes stills, and trailers, and more that helped out this video a lot too. If you have the time, read it. It was a great help with this video. Okay? But probably the biggest surprise is that nowadays we're a bit of a renaissance for video game movies. And in 2016, the vault was reopened for a Mario movie. So, do we have such a Mario movie? Yes! Yes, we do!
I am so glad we spent our life savings on this commercial.
That is not a commercial. That is cinema.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie from 2023 is proof enough that a Mario movie can work. While there are problems with this movie, no one can deny that. It is proof enough that a movie based on the Mario franchise can work wonders. Not only that, but it can work in a way that feels original. Okay? It has a plot that this is okay? We're so thankful that the movie came out. We're also thankful that the people at Aluan Nation who made this movie. It adds some humor that you would find right in the games. Acting performances that feel like they're either having fun with the rules.
That is but a taste of our fury. Do you yield? I do not.
And honestly, it expands on the story we've been getting. Let's face it, we'll probably never get a perfect Mario movie. But we have the closest thing to it right here. And there's a good reason why we have the closest thing to it. Okay? Super Mario Bros. Movie from 1983 doesn't work as a movie. But it doesn't mean that it should be forgotten about. And we like when we were doing 2023, we don't even have the original 1983 movie without having this wouldn't be released, I don't think. Is the movie bad? Yes, I will admit that the 1983 movie is pretty bad. And with the release of this and the last movie, it's proven enough that the third movie is easily, the movie 1983 is easily the worst. But we shouldn't look back on it as just a forgotten failure. We should look back on it as a movie that tried to adapt the movie and tried it as best as it can. And even though they did do as well as they thought of, the fan base alone has what kept this movie alive. Right? And that's what I think that most people forget about. This is a movie that doesn't work as a movie. But I am so glad I did watch it because it shows the world what Mario could have done in the 90s. And honestly, I think we should actually leave this one video off with a quote said by one of the actors afterwards. And that is by John Guizamo, who said best that he said best when he acted in 2013 interview saying, "I'm glad people appreciate this movie. It was the first. Nobody had done before. I am proud of this movie in retrospective." And honestly, I couldn't agree more that this movie was made. Well, yes, I have problems with the plot and the fact that it's just way too in a movie to actually consider good. I honestly can't say that it's the worst movie I've ever seen, or the worst video game movie ever. They're all far worse. Before we end, however, before we end off, I'd like to make a few things going on. There are several videos online that help out with this, especially on my movie, but I'd like to put and 3 in particular that helped me out in this case. Those being Matt McMuscle's What Happened on Mario movie, Secret Galaxy's video on 2 months, 1983's Mario movie, and the Game Historian's video as important examples. Okay? They all were great helpers in this case. Please, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and please follow wherever you watch podcasts. Like Spotify, Amazon, Apple, wherever you watch podcasts. Please, if you love me, please follow me on Bluesky, where this podcast is posted for and please follow me on Patreon, where this podcast is posted for $15 a month. Where, after all, you've been on the channel many times. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.